We're here with DeAnna and Dyan Lane, who are two absolute all-stars in the real estate industry. Super big pleasure to be with both of you and being able to interview you. So a couple of questions just to start, just to tell the audience a little bit about your background. Last year, 2017, you closed what?
We closed 32 million, just a smidge more. Yeah.
Just a little bit more than 30 million. That's amazing. And how many transactions does that represent now?
Just over, I think, 80, 82.
Now, it was a very interesting conversation that we were having before we started taping, which is that to most normal human beings, that would sound like an amazing amount of business, but for actually in 2016, you closed
42?
I think
Right?
42 and I think 52 the year before.
and 52 the year before. So 52, 42, 32, and that's unintentional. That's not an accident. And so why did you decide to not just continue to skyrocket and continue this, march upward like most people do? What was the reason for that?
I think back to 2015, that year was such a phenomenal year for us. It became, fun and exciting and not manageable.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the year, we high-fived, we were awesome, super stoked, we were top producers, but, or top of the valley, I think, but for our lifestyles, I mean, we have families, and it wasn't something that we wanted to, it just wasn't manageable. It wasn't at a level that we can maintain. So then the following year, we became a little more intentional, sort of trying to adjust to this new idea of how to really refine it. And then in 2017, I think we really figured it out.
I think the conversation that we were having was about life balance, and really deciding that you both have husbands, you both have small children, and so you made a conscious decision that this can't be just about putting numbers on a board. It's got to be about more than that, right? And so, DeAnna, you've been in the business 18 years?
Yeah, so I'm going into my 19th.
And you brought Dyan in, and Dyan was a friend of yours,
yes,
right? And what was the reason for bringing her in to begin with?
Dyan, I think it was about 9 years ago, I had reached a point where I felt like each of my clients, I had enough of a business that everyone was getting about 70%, and it wasn't okay with me.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right. I was trying to figure out ways to pare it down without, rejecting certain people.
Sure.
And ultimately said, I really want to find somebody who gets it, who can, enhance my business. They don't need to bring business or experience or anything to the table, but I need to know that they're honest, have integrity, work hard. And so I approached Dyan to offer me balance, to give her balance. The career that she had before was shift work and just a completely different lifestyle. And so it was just trying to figure out, how I could still meet the needs of my clients, but then, bless her life as much as she was going to bless mine. So.
What's interesting is that after you brought her in, you actually doubled your business within 2 years, right? Not intentionally.
Not intentional.
You were just looking for life balance,
Sure.
and then suddenly now your business grows that much more. So Dyan, when you brought up, which I think is interesting and a good, I think, lesson for anybody that brings in a partner, is that you weren't brought in as a junior partner, really.
No, yeah.
So explain that.
I think for DeAnna, the one thing that separates her from a lot of people in sales, she's just really confident. So she didn't think, well, I shouldn't share this information with Dyan because then she can replace me.
Sure.
And of course, there's some level of trust there that she knew I would never go out on my own. I would quit the business before I went out on my own. And so I think that really helps not only my confidence and be able to boost our sales quicker than most teams can, because it was constant feedback from her of this is how you do it. And for me, I had no ego, so I just mirrored what she did. And I think there was a competitive side in me that she brought me on for balance, but I also wanted to prove to everyone she made a good decision.
Right.
And so she had a previous partner for some years, and it was always my goal to beat that number.
Did you?
We did. I think
You're not competitive at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and Dyan and I were never in competition with one another. It was really, I was helping her as much as she was helping me in different ways.
So when I look at your guys' business and we talk about it, which is interesting, I think you attract a tremendous amount of business. Your business is referral based, almost all referral based. Not that you don't lead convert. We talked about you guys do some old school things. You have a column.
Yeah.
So tell us about the column.
We were approached, I think, has it been 6 years now?
At least, yeah.
By a local editor to write this column in his publication that's mailed out to 18,000 people. And so we were asking, well, what are we going to write about? And he said, well, real estate or your personal lives. And I think we molded over for a couple months because it was definitely not something that's done. You know, you think, well, these people don't want to know anything about me personally. They don't want to know I have kids. They don't want to know that I have other commitments that could, you know, clash with what their needs were. And so we took a leap of faith and decided to do it. And it's been so interesting because what that column does is it actually puts our faces back in front of people, like, oh, they're still there, oh, they're still selling, you know, this is the production they did, this is their advice for listing, and look at their balance that they have with their family. So they connect with us more on a personal level. And if you think about the people that are in your lives that you really count on, you know them somewhat
Deeply,
personally.
yeah.
So I'm not switching insurance agents because I have an investment in my insurance agent.
Right.
And that's what we wanted. We wanted it to be, we wanted to be people's people and not someone's salesperson. And so I think that really catapulted our business into more of a bond or a relationship instead of they need something from me, I'll give them money to give it to me.
It's not transactional,
Exactly.
it's relational.
Yeah.
So one thing that I think when you read the column, which I read it, you give a lot of personal information in there. And that's intentional, obviously. Instead of just a lot of market stats, which I think is what a lot of people that do these kinds of things across the country do, your theory on that was just to personalize yourself to the client.
It feels, I think people in sales tend to think everyone wants to focus on their performance or their production or what's in it for me. I'm paying you for the service. How are you going to meet my needs? And it wasn't intentional when we started it, but through life, you know, through Diane's mom going through cancer treatment, that impacts your life. It impacts your perspective. It helps you to refine your goals. And for us, it has given us a vehicle for just being authentic.
Yeah.
And it has changed our business. People will call us and already like us before they've ever even met us and make a, well, where did you hear about us, or did someone refer you? No, we've been following you in the Locals Guide for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. They connect with that end of it. They connect with, you know, a death in the family, whatever we're walking through. We're writing through, nothing is premeditated. It's what are we going through 48 hours before that deadline.
It's organic and authentic.
It's so organic
Right.
and so authentic, and we write about that, and just, you know, some people maybe start reading it and go, I don't care, and toss it, and other people just go, oh, I wonder what's going on with the girls.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like every third column we're talking about real estate, so we're also giving them something.
Which is actually amazing. That's 2/3 of it you're not. So you're more talking about personal things and relatable things. You're also very open on Facebook. I'm a Facebook friend of yours, and so you guys talk often and open about all kinds of things happening in your lives.
Sure.
I think a lot of agents tend to edit themselves and create this perfect vision of whatever is their lives. But again, you're just being really authentic, which I think plays to everyone who really likes authenticity.
and it's who we want to draw in.
It's
We want to
transparent.
draw in people who are real, who, you know, we're there to help them. We want to guide them. They're making huge decisions, and we are making them together.
Yep.
So the idea that everything has to be perfect on the surface, it's not never going to last.
No.
And so I think for us, it's drawing the client in. That's a reflection of, you know, who we are, because we're not the right fit for everybody. And I would certainly rather figure that out before we ever listed the property than 6 months later, when we all felt it in our gut and nobody wanted to say anything.
It's interesting when I talk to really high-level producers, and I ask them this question: do you consider your clients or your friends? You often consider them friends, right?
Right.
Yeah. And
More
not
so
all
now.
of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
No, but I tell
A
you
lot
what,
of them, right?
sort of that gut check is,
Yeah.
would I want to run into this person at a coffee shop, or would I be like, ooh?
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna duck, or if I'm gonna cringe when I see your number, we should not be doing business
Yeah.
together. And that's okay.
You reject clients.
Mhm.
What do you say when you reject a client?
We
Depends
don't
on the
reject them.
personality.
You don't reject them,
We
right?
don't- yeah,
Just
we-
the business.
It's, you know, we definitely have finessed it because it's still our business, and it's hard for us to say no. I don't want people to think that we are just cutthroat and be like, see ya, good luck.
Right.
That's totally not our personalities. We really do, one, try to make sure there wasn't a miscommunication, you know, which happens a lot because you're emailing, texting all the time. So we either have a face-to-face conversation or a phone call. And if there hasn't been a miscommunication, then we simply say, you know what, the level of service you need, I'm not in a position to provide, but I can find someone that can.
Love it. Great script.
And they love it, that's all they want.
Yeah.
You know, and
They want to be served.
they want to
Yes.
be served.
And they're spending a lot of money, they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes we can say, you know, this is what we can provide, does that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they're honest back and say, you know what, I have to have a phone call every night at 7.
Mhm.
It's not gonna be with us.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
And
just
we
not
had to
nice.
get into a place where that was okay.
just life balance.
Yeah.
You know, deciding who you're gonna work with and who you're not.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, at 80 transactions, you're turning down business, where a lot of people would be scrambling to take everything to close 80. But there's power in saying no. It's very
We're
interesting.
we're going to our kids' practices.
Mhm.
I mean, we have basketball a couple nights a week. Now we're heading into baseball season.
Busy.
But we get to do that. It's important to us. It's just as important to us as going on a listing appointment because, I mean, that's our most important job. We leave at the end of the day and the real job begins.
Yeah, second
And
shift.
we love this part of it, but it's like this little hobby we call real estate.
That's easy.
Yeah,
I
that's
look forward to
easy.
coming to
Well,
that.
It's way easier than feeding
you know-
those kids every single day.
I think some people would say, well, why didn't you just build your team?
Yeah,
Like, why?
add another
Why do
person.
you
Yeah.
get bigger?
Yeah.
And I think
That's a good question.
we did talk about that, and for us, it was, we will never take our brand off of things.
Mhm.
And so if we wanted to bring more people in, we would be making sure the service was the same.
Yeah.
And you can't, we got so blessed to have each other. How can that blessing come along where it's just more and more and more?
Yeah.
Something would come back and bite us.
This is special.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we didn't want it to come back and bite us. It was more important to just have balance.
Well, we've gotten smart about implementing systems, like you, as we talked about a little while ago, transaction coordination, that's
Mhm.
helped a lot.
Because you guys don't operate with an assistant, but you do have a transaction coordinator,
Right,
and then you have a showing agent.
right.
Yeah.
And Linda's been instrumental because evenings and weekends are when a tremendous amount of people want to see property.
Sure.
DeAnna and I alternate the weekends, but that gives the opposite person a full, you know, just disconnect,
Mhm.
dive into your family, lay on the couch if you want, which doesn't really happen. But that has helped us a lot. And we just are very clear about it with our clients from the beginning.
Right.
Like, we can accomplish a lot.
Mhm.
We're not gonna kill ourselves in the process.
Right.
So in your price point, it's competitive and on a moment's notice. We are not on a moment's notice.
Sure.
I mean, we have a pretty full calendar. So having Linda essentially on retainer for us has
Mhm.
been amazing.
Mhm.
It's been amazing for her. I mean, we do get a lot of leads that aren't just referral
Mhm.
based, and if it's somebody that we can't help, you know, there's an opportunity for her to help them, but she's been great just to return a message at 7 o'clock at night because we're at the Christmas program.
Takes the pressure
Yeah,
off.
it's just, and they get touched. They're happy for it. All they want is communication. They get the communication, and then we follow up with them in the morning.
So one question I often with top producers, because inevitably the public sees that you're doing well,
Mhm.
right? Do you ever have a client come to you and say, geez, I thought you might be too busy to handle my work?
Not only a client, friends.
Friends. So
Which
how do you respond to
kills
that?
us,
What do
you
you
know?
say to them?
It usually, unfortunately, it's after the fact.
Mhm.
They've already listed or they've already in contract with something.
Mhm.
And it's a fine line because now they have a relationship
Sure.
with another agent. And so we really have tried the past year to 18 months to get the word out that it is not about price point for
Mhm.
us. It's really about the person.
Sure.
And so it's unfortunate because I think people do read those stats and think, well, they must only sell $1 million homes
Sure.
or 500,000 and up. And it's
Mhm.
like, that isn't the case.
No.
And the service is the same. And so it's unfortunate because they would get the service of $1 million
Yeah,
client
right.
and they've thought that
They've
we were
settled.
too busy.
Yeah. So interesting, when we were before the interview, doing our pre-interview, we talked about, you know, if I'm an agent watching you two right now, you know, you might say, how in the world would I ever get to 80 transactions? But it's really interesting. 18 years ago, when you started in the business, DeAnna, you're just like every other agent.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
You put your pants on one leg at a time like the rest of
And
us,
I
right?
still do. And I still do.
So, I mean, when you started, we talked about having this attitude of, you know, you're going to show up and do the work, right?
Yeah.
And so, how did you
And that
build it?
was
How
it.
did you build to this point?
Desk time, open houses, every weekend, every evening. I was 23 years old. I had
Mhm.
nothing else going on. I wasn't married, I didn't have children,
Mhm.
and I was too determined to fail.
Mhm.
You know, I got into the business and the average age was 52. And
Still
every
is.
broker looked at me and said, this young whippersnapper, what is she gonna accomplish? And I thought, oh, I'll show you old people.
Right.
And I dove in and I just did the work with no expectation except for I'm gonna keep showing up and I'm gonna keep passing out my card and remembering their child's names and connecting with them because they came through every open house every single weekend. They were remodeling their kitchen.
Right.
You know, they wanted ideas. And so you just start to create a rapport and develop this relationship with them. And so I think, I mean, it took a long time.
Yeah.
I think
4 months to your first closing.
4 months to my first closing, 2 years before that business card I handed out at 320 East Main, which is Century 21 office, before that person said, I don't know if you'll remember me,
Right.
but I followed Buffini and I followed, you know, Pot Buys, and I wrote 5 handwritten thank you notes every single day.
Wow.
And I would thank the person at the city who answered my question, the person at the county who called me back, the dumbest stuff, $5 gift cards to Starbucks. Thank you so much. And Diane was just talking about price point and people and clients. We sold a $90,000 condo 2 years ago to a gal I met at Grover in the
Wow.
lighting department who helped me find a replacement bulb that my cleaning person shattered for a client. And she said, I don't know if you're, and I had sent her flowers and said, thank you for taking that time, because she had to research catalogs.
No, wait, now let's stop for a second.
Seriously.
So this Grover gal finds you the light bulb. Did you send flowers to
I sent her flowers
Grovers?
and said thank you. Yes,
Always
to
to
The
her.
plumbing company, Grovers.
To always to work.
Wow.
Send the flowers to work.
It's a public reward.
Yes.
People ask, what,
Really?
where'd you
And
get
thank
those
you,
flowers?
because, I mean,
Smart.
she could have done what everybody else did, which was, no, I don't think we have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a matching
Right,
one, I needed
right.
something close,
Wow.
and literally 10 years later, she said,
There it is.
this is Yvonne from Grover, I don't know if you remember me. I said, I absolutely remember you.
Wow.
She said, I have a $90,000 condo in Medford and I want you to list it.
Wow.
And it was like, right there, connection,
Mhm.
you know, but it was just like, and Diane goes, where did she come from? And so I'm telling her the story, she's like, what?
You said the words
Yeah.
before the interview, which relates right to this, is you have a servant's heart. You have to have a
Sure.
servant's heart in this business, which I think is lost a lot. We get focused, the industry gets focused on profit,
Yep.
transactions, GCI. It's a
Reward.
complete focus. And if you let go of that and you just say, I'm gonna have a servant's heart, it comes back.
People
obviously.
feel it, I
Tenfold.
think.
Yeah, yeah.
They really do feel it. They can tell whether your intention is to sell them something or provide a lifestyle.
Mhm.
And so we've talked our clients out of submitting offers, and it always rewards us. It may not be the next day, a year later, where they're coming back and they're so thankful that we didn't let them make that investment.
Make the mistake,
But I
yeah.
think one thing that DeAnna taught me that she always did was she just did what she said she would do.
Mhm.
So we hear so many people call us and like, you called me back.
Shocking.
Yeah. How many people did you call and not get a call back?
5.
And that was one of the reasons for bringing Linda on, is because our personalities is if we have a message, they need a call back.
Right.
And it has to be within the same day.
Mhm.
And so like DeAnna said, just having someone call back and saying, you know what, they're tied up this evening, what time works to connect tomorrow?
Mhm.
And that I think has really helped our business, just that servant's perspective.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Wonderful
Yeah,
interview.
thank you.
I know you're gonna help a lot of people.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it.